Hey everyone, I'm Tafony. Let's ramble about the Synths Pico voice. Okay, disclaimer first, or anti-disclaimer. I purchased all of these Pico modules used from local sellers. I'm not affiliated with Synths in any way. These are all my own thoughts, ramblings, misinterpretations. So it's going to be the same for all 5 of them here, but I'm going to give my quick thoughts on the Pico platform as a whole. And yeah, so while 3 HP is kind of an odd size, well, it is literally an odd size, if you always have 2 in the rack, you're at 6 HP, which is pretty small for a single module, never mind 2. But if I would make a direct comparison with a similar size and price modules that have a lot of the similar functionality that a lot of these do, I think these are a huge upgrade over the 2 HP the company modules. They're big enough that the boards are mounted parallel to the back, so they're not super deep and super flimsy, and they don't have that vertically mounted circuit board like those 2 HP modules do that's super flimsy, and you don't have to worry about disconnecting it or breaking it, or, usually the smaller modules, you're like stuffing them in to the tightest places, which is like really where you want the most sturdy ones. So it's definitely worth the extra HP of the Synths ones, in my mind. It is 50% more size if you think about it. It is just one more HP, but it's way bigger. It makes them feel less fragile. It makes them feel less cramped when they're lined up like this. There's a little more margin between the jacks of it and the module beside it, especially if you're going to line up 5 of them like I do here. Yeah, I do have some frustrations with the build quality on these in the paint department, if that makes sense. I don't know what it is with the Synth stuff, but I did have the sample drum, and that thing was like battle scarred in a way. It just seemed to like all the paint wore off of it at the edges for some reason. And I have the same issue with some of my other Synth stuff. It just seems to like wear, so be aware of that. And the most prone to wear thing I've found with them is the white silk screen on them seems to wear off. Like if I try and point out one here, of course these are all pretty good, but maybe you can see like the little Synths little alien character in the corner. That white silk screen just has this tendency to wear off, so be aware of that. These Picos, however, they seem to all be in good shape. That being said, Erica brings some amazing sounds with the Pico line, and I'm really impressed with stuff they do, and by God are they straightforward as well, which is really appreciated. I think some of that means that they're kind of left out of certain conversations or stuff I read online about stuff where, like, specifically in the low pass gate one that I'll talk about in another video, that like this is a proper low pass gate with Vactrals, and for some reason, because it's part of the Pico line, it's not super expensive. It just like gets left out of the conversation, and I think that's a shame. So with all that being said, this is the Synths Pico voice, which is a 3 HP full synthesizer voice, only requiring CV and gate basically to generate a full voice, meaning you don't need to give it an envelope generator, you don't need to use a VCA. It's got filters built in, it's got everything you need. So this module features 8 very unique sounds with 3 parameters per algorithm, and you get CV control over one of those parameters, and it sounds awesome. It sounds like this. So let's go through the panel top to bottom. So the first knob is tune. This sets the tune range. It goes from all the way at the bottom, it's C1, to all the way at the top is C8. The second knob is parameter 1. So based on the mode you've chosen with the mode button, this will affect something different. So when I get down to the modes button, we'll demonstrate all of the different functions here. And then the third knob is parameter 2, which usually is release time, but just like parameter 1, it's going to depend a little bit on which mode, model, or as they call it, algorithm you're using. Okay, so mode selection button. There is an LED on the left, so the color indicates what mode you're in, and it will blink based on the incoming gates, I believe. So if I run this, you'll see those gates going. We hit this button, and it'll cycle through the 8 modes, and each color indicates a different mode, or algorithm as they call it. Now, there is configuration settings that are controlled with this button. So right now we're in the green, the baseline mode, the TB303 emulator. We hold it down, and it starts blinking. And it's blinking blue right now to show us that we are assigning the CV input to the first parameter, and we can cycle through it by pressing it again. So now it's going to switch red, which means the CV is assigned to the tune knob for frequency modulation. Green means it's parameter 1, and blue means it's parameter 2. So I like to keep it parameter 1, so we're going to go back to green. But what you want to do for the per algorithm settings here is while it's blinking in configuration mode, you want to turn parameter 2. So right now, I don't know what, I think I'm in sawtooth mode, so if I turn it to the left, so if I turn it to the left, it's in sawtooth mode. If I turn it to the right, it's in square wave mode. And every algorithm has different settings. So now that we're in square wave mode, I'm going to exit out. And we'll switch to a different algorithm, which is going to have different settings. So let's give you an example. A good example would be the chord. So if I'm going to chord, hold it to put it into config mode. I don't want to change my CV assignment, but what I do want to change is the waveform. So we can start in sine wave mode. Second is triangle. And then there's a saw. Square wave. So that's how you change it per algorithm. And there's a very important table to consult in the manual. Do consult it because it'll show you which one has which settings. So I like saw waves. So we'll leave it in saw wave mode, and I'll hold this to exit. So this yellow mode is the carpless strong mode, and it sounds like this. We're just going to use the Overtech. I'm sorry, it's kind of boring, but we're doing it. And so in this case, parameter 1 is distortion. So how much distortion do you want? This one, it also affects the volume, so gotta be careful there, but it gets into a little hairy at the end. So somewhere in the middle I think is best. Parameter 2 is noise burst. So it does end up kind of making it envelopey, but you'll hear it now. So it isn't technically release time. Most of them will be release time on parameter 2, but yeah. And then we'll get over into mode 2, which is chord in red. I'm going to try and line up these chords with my descriptions of them, but if they're not quite right, I'm sorry. So the third knob is going to be release. Most of the time it is. So parameter 2 all the way down. Super short envelope. Extend it. Then we get no envelope at all. So I'll just bring it down there. And then if we hear, let's just go back to major. So here's the list of chords. It's major, minor, 7th, minor 7th, major 7th, minor, major 7th, augmented and diminished. So as you sweep through, you get different chords. octave or two. Yeah, and then the orange algorithm is wavetable, and they describe the first parameter as wave surf, so let's surf through some waves. This actually, I really like this one. And the second parameter is release. Super big fan of that one. Okay, then the third one is probably the most famous one on here, and it is the green one, which is the TB303 emulator. So, first one is resonance, so obviously you want lots of resonance. And then you can actually switch this from saw wave to pulse, but we're just going to leave it saw right now. Yeah, there's your 303. Also, awesome one. Those two are probably my favorite in the whole thing. There's been many a demo out there. Check out Ehor, has lots of videos on that one if you're into this one. So, let's get over to the blue algorithm. Or the first blue algorithm. This is pulse width modulation. So the first knob is the width of the pulse width, if that makes any sense. Super saw. Oh, I love a good super saw. Okay, detune. I like a hair detune. Last one is release. Awesome one as well. And then purple is wavefold. Control over how much wavefolding. Awesome. And then release. And then this pink one is the harmonic. And first controls over how much harmonics. Very cool. Anyway, that is the Pico voice. It is, I think, a very underrated synthesizer voice in your rack. I regret selling my second one because it's very nice to have two. They're always in tune. Pair them up. And yeah, I'm Tafony. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.